I'm Ryan Green.
And I'm Zack Taylor.
And together we are
Commander Social.
And this week we are going to talk to you about making Magic better.
Yep.
Right? It's a new year and it's time to figure out what we can do to make Magic the best it can be. And we thank you for joining us along on this ride.
Yep.
And if you are watching this, please make sure to hit the like button,
the subscribe button,
and the bell for ringing notifications. Okay, so Zach, take that first one.
So I want to say thanks to our patrons. You guys support us in more ways than just, giving that however much you give a month. It's, support on Twitter, kind words there, talking to us in the Discord. And we really appreciate each and every one of you just because, we couldn't do it without you.
100% agree.
So, also, if you want to get at our Patreon, it's patreon.com/commandersocial. And this week's patron of the week is actually my brother, Jacob Taylor.
Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks for your contribution. It means a lot because, he's not really a Magic player. Or I'm sorry, he's not a Magic player, but he sees what we're doing and, he wants to, help out, which I think is awesome. But something else special happened to Jacob this past week. We're recording post New Year's. So on New Year's Eve, him and his girlfriend became engaged. He proposed.
Nice.
So,
very nice.
She said yes. And I think they're planning a September-ish wedding of 2020. So, I just want to say, as an older brother, I'm definitely proud of you. And I think it's awesome. And I'm super excited that goes well for you. So,
congratulations, Jacob. Seriously. Awesome. That's awesome news.
It's a big deal. So, that leads us on to our next patron thing, and that's the patron contest. So as long as you're a patron at any tier, doesn't matter, you are entered to win this. And this week it's going to be, or this month rather, it's going to be 6 boosters from Theros Beyond Death.
Yeah, January, the month of Theros.
TBD.
Yeah, Elspeth coming back, I think, right?
I think so. I don't know for a fact. Oh, we do know for a fact. Okay.
We saw the trailer, yeah. Right?
Oh, we did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, actually, the set's shaping up to be pretty sweet.
Yeah, there's some pretty good stuff in there. I've seen a few cards. I'm like, wow, that Thassa, man, that Thassa looks good.
Yeah, all the new gods look really sweet.
Yeah, they do. I'll do a thing where I line them up here.
Nice.
So yeah, so if as long as you're a patron, you're able to be in that contest, and you're guaranteed 6 mythics or rares. Rares or mythics, probably more rares than mythics. But theoretically, you could get 6 mythics in a row, couldn't you?
It could, yeah, depending on where we get the packs from.
Yeah, if we take one for each from a different box, it's probably not going to happen. So, if you want to get us on Twitter, you can find me at Z4CK38.
And I'm at Green Geek.
And together we're at Commander Socials. So, thanks to all of our Twitter followers. It means the world to us that you would follow us and just kind of support us and have all the kind words that you do. That means a lot.
It really does.
And we don't want to forget our Twitter followers in the contest department. So this month we're doing 3 boosters of Theros Beyond Death. So by the time you're seeing this, we'll have a tweet out for the contest. And to enter, all you have to do, or to be entered, all you have to do is follow us on Twitter, like and retweet the tweet about it, and then reply with 3 of your bestest friends. So, it could be anybody. It could be, your mom or your brother or, your cousin.
Whether or not they play Magic.
Yeah, totally. Get the person you work with that you want to play Magic but refuses to, but you ask them every day if they want to play anyway. That's not a personal story at all. So,
so Zach, what's been going on in your personal life, man?
All right, man. As I said earlier, this past week was New Year's.
Indeed.
So that means this past week, New Year's Eve also happened. And every year for New Year's Eve, I like to have a prime rib. I don't know why. I mean, I just like prime rib in general, but something about New Year's, I want prime rib. Last year when we went to a restaurant and we were like, yeah, we want prime rib. And they're like, oh, we're out. And it's like, okay. And then, she came back, where she was like, well, do you want to look at the menu some more to make second options? Like, yeah. And so, she came back later when we were around the table and everyone was like, yeah, this, and she gets back to me at the last, and I was like, can I get the prime rib? And she just looks at me like, oh, we're out. And then I was like, no, I know, I'm just kidding this. So this year we called in advance.
That's true. We did do that.
We called and we're like, hey, what time should we get there to make sure we get some prime rib in us? And it was 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And so we got there a little before we got there, like 6:27. We signed up. I put my name in, and there was an hour-long wait.
Yeah, so I think the caveat there was, I guess we were supposed to get there well before 6:30 so that we could be seated by 6:30.
Right, so that would be like, what, 5:30, 5 o'clock? Like,
yeah,
I don't eat that early.
The blue plate special time.
Yeah, exactly. So we ended up not getting it, but regardless, like we had a great New Year's. I still had a good steak, and it was a lot of fun. So that's pretty much basically going on in my life this week. What about you, Ryan?
We'll get them next year.
Yeah. We'll show them. Maybe next year. Like maybe I should just make prime rib myself. Like that's something I can do.
Can you do it in the Instapot?
I think so. Yeah, that's definitely how I do it.
All right. Well, it's time for your hashtag MTG Dad moment. And this first bit is for my son, Mal. Mal has really been practicing his jumping.
Yeah.
And you can actually see him, like, he'll be in the living room and he'll just jump and just a little bit of clearance, just like, about an inch maybe.
Yeah.
But he's really doing it, and he's really into practicing it, and it's really cute to see. It's an update from like the last time he tried to jump off the stool and just, controlled fall.
Right.
But yeah, so he's been doing that, which has been really awesome to see.
That's awesome. Like I can't wait to see him pull that off.
Oh yeah. So let's see. So what else? All right, and there's a quick one from my daughter here, Veronica. Today I took her to a friend's birthday party.
Yep.
Her friend turned 4 years old today. And yeah, so they got to go to the jump place, and jump on all the air slides. And
did you go to the one at the mall?
No, this was it's called Pump It Up is the name of it.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
And it was pretty cool because like you go into the first room and the kids are all kind of running around doing their thing, right? And then like a little bit later you get moved into the second room, and then there's more things for the kids to experience. And then like presumably that first room gets another group in, so it's kind of like a pipeline.
Okay, yeah.
And then like after that you move into the area and have some pizza and cake.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun, and Veronica really enjoyed herself. She was really cute today. She had pigtails. She had like little.
Oh, did she keep them in?
Yeah, for as long as they stayed with the jumping, which is they did fall out eventually. And she had like a little tutu, like a little multicolored rainbow tutu.
Oh, okay.
And
was it the one I got her for Christmas?
It was.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was a really fun time, and the kids really enjoyed it, and I just enjoyed getting to be there and watch. Like it's so amazing to see your kids having so much fun, and yeah, I don't know, it's really precious.
This is a total non sequitur, but like you were talking about like the pipeline of kids. Makes me think of that ooze game, that pipeline ooze game in Windows 3.1.
Oh,
where you had to like put all the pipes and like the pipes came down like Tetris random. You had to like figure it out. I love that game.
Oh yeah, I definitely know the game you're talking about.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure what the name of it is, but yeah,
it's pipe something.
Pipe something. Yeah. All right. Okay, so that's gonna move us into something that we do every episode, and that is thank one Mr. Mike Condon.
Yep, scholar,
He's
gentleman.
A scholar, man.
Yeah, he's a scholar, man. Come on. you need to know that. He's a scholar, gentleman. He's a good friend. I recently went and we played some guitar again, and that was Monday of this week, so it wasn't too long. And he taught me some stuff, and we talked, and it was a good time. Like again, like I said it last time, but I still mean it. Like it means a lot that he would like take the time to like, work with me on that. And the cool thing is, when we see him, it's like we're like, oh, we're talking the podcast, talking about magic. That's more of a Ryan and Zack element. But when you go toe to toe with Mike on guitar, Mike's in his element, and it's awesome to see him do that. And I think it's awesome to like point out that yeah, we do work on the podcast, but we really are friends, and we like
absolutely
we like hang out and do things, and yeah, I can't say enough good things about Mike.
Yeah, we want to thank Mike for all of his help, the audio engineering,
yep.
As well as his silent partnership, and for the Petri dishes for us to grow our own cultures in. Right?
Right. Making penicillin.
Yeah, it's important.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so that's going to move us right on into a segment we like to call
Commander Rules.
So on Commander Rules, we like to take a deep dive into the comprehensive rules of Magic the Gathering. And this week's rule is 305.7.
What does that one do, Mr. Wizard?
Well, if you change the stuff outside the can, the invisible giant crushes it. That's an episode of Mr. Wizard that I've seen. So anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I don't remember any episodes of Mr. Wizard.
Science. All right. So here you go. Okay. So basically 305.7 deals with lands. Okay. And here's what it says. If an effect sets a land's subtype to one or more of the basic land types, the land no longer has its old land type. It loses all abilities generated from its rules text, its old land types, and any copy effects affecting that land. And it gains the appropriate mana ability for each new basic land type. Note that this doesn't remove any abilities that were granted to the land by other effects. Setting a land's subtype doesn't add or remove any card types, such as creature, or super types, such as basic, legendary, and snow. The land may have, so if a land gains one or more land types in addition to its own, it keeps its land types and rules text, and it gains the new land types and mana abilities.
Okay.
How does that hit you?
I hate Blood Moon so much.
Should we read it out for the folks at home?
Yeah, Blood Moon's an enchantment that's 2 and a red. Non-basic lands are mountains.
And so that would be setting the land's subtype to mountain.
Right.
Right?
And then it produces
Red mana.
as a mountain would.
Right. And that actually happens from the subtype, right? Like that's
Right.
how the mana generation works.
Okay.
Right. Basically, actually we can, well, okay. Well, yeah. So what do you think? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So my question is then, if the type of mana that a land makes is dictated by its land types, what about, say, pain lands?
Okay. Right.
Like they say land.
Right. They do say land. They don't have subtypes.
So
they have abilities that on the card say add that. Right. Like they actually have an ability that says that. For the folks at home, Zach is currently looking something up to make a point, I assume.
No, to make a point, I'm just trying to understand.
Right. Okay. So, so what are you thinking about? Use your words here. What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about like the shock. Okay. So there's a tap ability on the land.
So we're talking about Shivan Reef right here?
Yeah, we're talking about
Shivan
Shivan
Reef. Tap to add a colorless mana, or it can tap to add blue or red. And Shivan Reef deals 1 damage to you, right?
Right. Okay, so this is a land that has 2 abilities that do this.
Correct.
But say the subtype is changed to, because it doesn't say basic land, it says land.
Right.
So if Blood Moon comes out, all non-basic land, so it's not basic land, becomes a mountain. So that it becomes
Land hyphen mountain.
Mountain,
Yep.
right? And then it can only produce that mana because mountains produce red mana.
Well, and it's not basic. We should be clear there.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah, basic is a super type, right? But it does say here, so in this rule that I read earlier, it says that land no longer has its land type. It loses all abilities generated from its rules text, right? So it loses the tap add colorless, and it loses the tap add blue or red.
Right.
So that's kind of the point of this, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just like not sure about the one thing, but that,
to be fair, I probably should have come up with an example, but I thought this was a good one because
it is.
There's a lot of intricacies with lands, right? And it's something that is kind of brushed over when you're teaching a new player, right?
Yeah, it is.
And so I don't know. So folks at home in the audience, let us know if this was enjoyable. Did you learn something? Did you like it? We always appreciate hearing from you. Okay. So that's going to move us right on into the main topic, and that is making Magic better, right?
Yep.
So do you want to take the first part, or do you want me to do it?
Why don't you start it?
Okay, all right. So Magic is a truly great game, and it's full of some of the best people ever, specifically this community.
Yeah.
And kind of the point of this episode is that we should all be ambassadors of Magic and help the game grow. That was kind of like the point here was, we were thinking like,
right.
It's a new year. What could we do to make Magic better? Right. And we decided, well, you know what? Making this episode is a way to do that, right? If we can, explain like how to be better at like having new players join you, or how to treat people at your local game store, or just how we can grow the game, right? Like that was kind of the best way we could make Magic better.
And I think really using, like when you say be an ambassador for Magic, like a way to think about this is back in the day, like when we started playing Magic, Magic players have gotten a bad rap over time in general, right? And I mean, it's not as bad as it used to be, but because we have these people who are ambassadors and show other people who don't necessarily know about Magic that, hey, you can be a Magic player and be a good person. There's nothing wrong with being into that, and it's fine. So, I think that's definitely one of the things that we're gonna discuss, like ways to do that, to show even people around you that actually play Magic, ways to be good to each other.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're definitely going to try to take this in a positive spin. And I think that's kind of where you're going. So I think the first point here that we should hit home is that a Magic player is a Magic player.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Right? And, we shouldn't, make things difficult, right? We should foster, a community of inclusivity, right? Yeah. Anybody that wants to play Magic should be able to play Magic.
Be able to play Magic. I'll play with anyone. I'll play Magic with anyone who knows how to play Magic. I don't care about anything else. Be nice, be able to play Magic.
Well, and I think the point here is that the more people that are playing Magic, the better it is for everyone.
Yeah,
right. The more people we have, the more products we can get, the more content people will create that you can consume. The more people you're going to have to play against, which is just overall better. Right. And I think the other point here is that every player deserves respect. Right. And not just every player, every person deserves respect. Right. And if you can live that way as an ambassador, right, that's going to make the game better. Right. It's going to make people feel more welcome. It's going to make people feel more included. And once you can do that, there's less of a barrier for new players to enter. And I think that's an important thing.
Yeah. And I think living with that as a rule is, a life rule is that everyone deserves, not only going to make Magic better, it's going to make your own life better too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a point that we probably should state here, which is if you can do this and you can live your life this way, it's actually going to make your life better.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is one of those things where it's a lesson that you can learn from Magic carrying over into your real life that's value. That's really valuable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's cool that those lessons can be learned in Magic and brought over into the realm of your real life, or not that Magic's not your real life. You know what I mean? Other parts of your life.
All right. So another point here to make is that spending time with folks that have a different background than you or a different perspective can help actually influence your perspective.
For sure.
And seeing what they've had to deal with and, what their perspective is can help you widen your perspective. And I think that's a good thing.
I think so too. I just like hearing other people's stories, right? It's like, well, like the thing that you do, it's like, well, would you start playing Magic? Things like that. What do you do for a job? What do you like? Sort of things. I've heard crazy stories from people about stuff, and it's awesome. I just think it's great. And I think by, listening to these stories, it's something that can enrich your own life.
Yeah. I mean, Magic at its core is a social game, right? And, especially in Commander where we play multiplayer, it's really social.
Yeah, it really is.
And that's actually one of the things I love about, the game itself and this community. And I really do think that is something that, is a huge strength of Magic. Yeah. And it's something we should celebrate, right?
Right. And the way that I think about it, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the game of Magic. But the reason I play Magic is because my friends play, right? Mm-hmm. I care more about hanging out with my friends than I necessarily do actually playing Magic, which I think definitely explains a lot of why I lose. I'm just like, whatever. But if Ryan was like, Zach, we're starting a spades group, we're gonna start playing spades, I'd be like, okay, cool. As long as I'm hanging out with cool people, I don't care what we're playing. Yeah. But I'd prefer to play Magic, obviously.
Right. Well, and a point here is that actually a lot of your friends you've met through playing Magic.
Oh yeah,
right.
For sure.
So there's a side benefit there too, which is these folks that you meet and you don't know. Maybe you find out you have a lot in common with them, and then you have this shared experience of Magic, and that grows into a full blown friendship where you spend all the time with these other people.
For sure, that's definitely happened with me, Max, and Joe. We have a text group where we just make each other laugh and listen to each other, and it's awesome. Right? I consider these people to be cool, legitimate friends. Another thing that kind of happened, thinking about different people's stories and things. We met a player and we played with him at the Mothership.
Shout out to the Mothership.
Yeah. On a Thursday, and he was from Australia. He was a really nice guy, and he was buying all these cards. He's like, yeah, I gotta buy cards while I'm here. I gotta buy cards while I'm here. And I was like, oh, how come, man? And he's like, well, it's the mail's kind of dodgy in Australia, and he's like, there's not as many places to buy from, and when you do, it's like you pay to have them shipped, and maybe you get them in 3 months, maybe you don't. And to me, that blows my mind, right? I can order cards. I mean, honestly, locally, I could get pretty much whatever I want.
We are lucky that way.
Yeah, we're Austin's very lucky in that we have so many LGSs. But on top of that, I can order cards to the mail on a Monday and have them by Friday from Card Kingdom or Channel Fireball or whoever.
Yeah.
Right. So like we're very blessed in that way. Whereas like I can't imagine like trying because.
And paying a whole bunch extra to have them shipped too.
Yeah.
Right.
My thing is like when I build Dune decks, a lot of times I just rebuy all the commons and uncommons, right? And because I have that luxury, there like you just don't, and that's I can't. It was hard to fathom, but like it was interesting to hear that it's different elsewhere, and it makes me feel more blessed to be here.
Yeah, and like seeing that like diverse perspective and hearing that story, actually impacted you, and it made you feel like a little bit better about your own situation.
Right.
And that's a cool thing, right?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So another thing that you can do when you're playing Magic is make sure that you speak up when you see others doing things that aren't acceptable. And this is a really hard one, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to share a personal story here. I was actually at a GP and I saw some inappropriate behavior, and I didn't, confront the folks. I didn't say like, hey, that's not cool. And I actually regret it. Like I actually have like regret. I wish that I had said something. And the thing is, this is hard for me personally. And I know it's hard for everyone out there in the audience. Confrontation is not something I'm a huge fan of. Okay.
Right.
I don't like doing it. I'm overall a generally positive person. I don't, and to me, confrontation feels negative, but the whole thing is like the thing, that happened doesn't even matter what it is, but like somebody else could have seen that and maybe it could have negatively impacted that.
Right.
And that's not the kind of thing that we want in our community. And you know what, if you can have the courage to speak up, that can make Magic better. And the other bit is, even if you can't like tell the person directly, maybe you can talk to like, if you're at a GP, you can talk to one of the people running it.
Yeah, like a judge or something maybe.
Yeah, or if you're at your local game store, you can talk to the owner.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff, it's really unacceptable. And I hope that my story of regret encourages folks out there to maybe be able to stand up and deal with that scary confrontation. And I hope that I can do that in the future.
See, that's the thing. That's why, like, to me, I get that you wanted to say something and you wish you had said something, but I wouldn't regret this situation having happened, because in my mind, it's something for you to focus back on and think, oh, in the future, I need to do this. And that's a lesson learned,
It's a way for me to improve a little bit.
Right. And the thing is, you don't have to be super confrontational when things like this happen. It can be as much as a, hey, that's not cool. Right. And the other thing is, like, I think that's part of being an ambassador for the game is being able to stand up and say it, because, if you saw there was some inappropriate behavior, you're most likely not the only one who thought that.
Right.
And like, when you say something that shows other people, maybe like some people who this is the first time, they've been to the LGS or to an MF or something, see that and they're like, oh, this community is pretty legit. So, I mean, it's something that I would have a problem with too. Like, I don't love confrontation either, but like, yeah, I think that, I think this is something we can all learn from.
Right. Okay. So the next point to make Magic better is be aware of your surroundings, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's, that kind of stems from the previous story, which is, these people, I don't think they had any like really ill intent.
No.
It just, they weren't necessarily aware that they were in public.
Right.
And that other folks may be observing them, right? So you should also take that lesson to heart, right?
Yeah.
It's you're at a Magic Fest, you're at a Command Fest, you're at your local game store. There could be kids there.
Yeah.
Right. So, try to tone down the language if you can. Sometimes hard, right?
It is hard. Real hard.
But, like, this should be a community that's available to everyone.
Right.
Right. And so, if you could make it like a space that's like safe and welcoming, for kids, then that's a good thing too, right? Yep. Because those kids may grow up to be
that's what I was going to say.
Players, right?
Yep.
And I think that if we foster that kind of goodwill and that good behavior, then I think it just makes the game better for everyone.
Yeah, because like a parent could a kid could be like, hey, Dad, can you take me to this thing? And then the dad brings them, and then the dad sees a bunch of like cussing and crazy stuff, and they're like, oh, you can't really play this game. And then that kid doesn't grow up to play Magic, like I said, but if we're aware of our surroundings and work to strive for, like you said, creating this safe place, that kid could grow up into playing. And the thing is, children are our future. but in reality,
teach them well and let them lead the way.
Is that a song?
I think so.
Okay. So I definitely have a record shirt that says "Teach them well" or something. Anyway, we want more players to come up and start playing, because again, that for us means more product, continuation of the game, things like that. Because if that doesn't happen, the game dies, right?
Well, the other bit here is that Magic has had like a profoundly like impact, like a good positive impact on my life.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would like that for other people as
Absolutely.
well, right? And so, if we have that good community, then it's easier for, like you said, a dad to be okay with bringing his kid to the shop, right?
Right.
So I think that is really important. And another piece here that we should just say is that like, you're out in public or, you're at a Magic Fest or whatever, and you're around people that might not know you.
Yeah.
Right. And you're joking and it's fine. Right. Like,
Right.
but sometimes even like things with no ill intent or, innocent things, can be taken out of context.
Yeah, exactly. So like, if I'm playing a game with, it's like, me, Ryan, Kelly, and TH, right? It's just us. We're at like my house, Ryan's store. We jokes that get coarser, and you're just messing around, and that's fine, because these people know we know each other all pretty well, right? When you go out and are playing at a Magic Fest or your local game store or whatever, what's a funny inside joke to you could be possibly offensive or misunderstood to someone else,
or even just make somebody feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
And you really don't want that, right?
For sure.
Like we don't. We want everyone around us to be comfortable, because that's how they're going to have fun and that's how they're going to come back.
Yeah, and my thing is, it's like, if I know that something I'm doing makes someone uncomfortable, I won't do it. So because of that, I try not to do things that I think could possibly make people uncomfortable in general.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. What do you think?
Investing in those around you.
All right.
I kind of alluded to this earlier. It's something that Ryan does real well. When we'll play these games, and I try to do it too. I'm not as successful, but Ryan likes to learn other people's stories. When did you start playing Magic? Where are you from? What kind of decks do you like to play? Oh, you're into Dungeons and Dragons. Cool. I played that one time. Didn't like it and won't ever play it again, but I'm glad that you like it.
Is that commentary on me?
No, it's fine. Like, the thing is, like, what's cool about that is the diversity, right? Someone else likes D&D and getting sort of, and you're happy for them, right? But it's not for you. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with D&D. You're just not a thing you're into, That's why. But like learning other people's stories, like like the Australian guy that I was talking about with his thing, or whatever. Like, I think that's part of what makes Magic awesome, is dealing with.
It is one of the truly great parts of this game.
Is people who are different than me. So, that's definitely something that you should definitely do, and just invest in those around you, because you want people to invest in you as well. Like, I think it personally, it feels good to invest in other people.
Agree.
And
100%. Yeah.
But it also feels good to be invested in as well. So like,
yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
I feel like when you do that, you're like helping other people feel more comfortable in a game, because you don't.
It's kind of paying it forward a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, it's really easy to do. Just, if you're in a game and there's kind of a lull and somebody else is doing something, like player C is tutoring.
So Zach's like trying to figure out how his combo works. Like Ryan has this like full on conversation.
Yeah. So like maybe, just ask the person across from you a question.
Yeah.
And it could be about Magic, and it could be about, anything really. Just, engage, right? Because I think that is a truly awesome part of this. And oftentimes, like when I do that, I see the folks engage back.
Yeah.
Right. Like then other questions are being asked, and then the game is more fun, and everybody's kind of like sharing. And I don't know. I think it's a really good thing.
Yeah, I definitely, it's how you make friends.
Okay. So the next bit, the next way that you can make Magic better is to help newer players, right? We've kind of talked about that a little bit this episode already, but new players really are, important to this game, right? And
we mentioned it earlier.
And the thing is, everyone out there that's listening probably was a new player at some point.
Yeah.
And how scary, intimidating it could be.
Oh, you weren't born with crazy magic skills like me, dude?
Nice, yes. No, I wasn't. I was a new player.
I was born this way. Weird.
Word.
Okay.
Okay, so the point there being that, like how scary and intimidating it could be the first time you go to your local game store.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Or the first time you go to a Magic Fest.
Yeah.
Right. And I've had those experiences, and I will say that in general, this community is really amazing.
Agreed.
Right. But I think that we should make a special effort to help out newer players.
Yeah.
Because
We want them to come back.
yeah, and we want them to have a good time, and we want them to like experience the joy that is Magic, right? And so a couple of things you could do for new players, ask if they want advice, right? After you've had a game with somebody and, they're new, they didn't really understand how stuff went, they've got a pre-con deck, ask if they want advice. Don't just like blindly offer the advice, because for some folks that's not taken very well.
I've seen that happen so many times. And the person, because the thing is, most likely you just won, right? Most likely. If
it's me.
I'm talking about so if you're like
I'm just
playing,
kidding,
if you're
I'm
playing
just
like standard or modern, right? And when you offer this advice, right, like most of the times you've probably just won. And just being like, you could have done this differently, or that, it's like, I've seen people get salty, and that's why. So that's why I think it, like you said, it's best to be like, hey, that was, you played a good game. Like, I know you're new. Would you like some advice? Is there, and do it that way. You just have to have some tact when asking.
Oftentimes, like a thing I like to do here is, I like to ask the person I'm playing against, hey, can I look at your deck? Right. And actually there's a lot of that. Like if it's a pre-con, okay, well, I pretty much know what's in the pre-cons, but even then it's like, they're proud of this deck. They want to share it, and that opens up like a way to communicate and talk about it and offer advice if they're open or accepting to it. And they may not be, but that kind of interaction, that kind of positive interaction is the thing. Even if somebody loses, may make them want to continue and play. Right. So I think it's a really good thing to do that for newer players.
Agreed.
What's this next one here?
Maybe, and this is something like I know Joe does. You give your draft chaff to like a newer player or something. Like I've definitely like drafted and been like I'll play, like I knew it's a newer player. I'll just give them all my cards, right? Because I'm just like, maybe there's like a $5 card in there, but I'm like, whatever. Like I have them. Like I guess things I would be like, what if I open like a Hero's Downfall? I'd be like, oh, here, it's like here's a way to start your collection, because I feel like people, I don't know, they take pride in their collections.
I definitely do. Yeah.
I do too. And it's like, oh, well, this is a key. Like, I think that's a key piece of removal that gets played a lot in our format. Right. And they're like, oh, and like, they remember that card, they remember you. And it's just a nice thing to do. I think, obviously I'm not giving away any like Black Lotuses or anything. Yeah, no, if I get a beta drafts, I'd probably keep that Black Lotus. But I'd be like, this force is worth like $50. You can have that.
I will say sometimes like, if you're at a pre-release and it's like the last round, and you're playing against somebody and they're like, oh man, that card's so cool, and it's only like $1 or $2. Yeah. So sometimes I like to be like, oh yeah, here you can just take that, like, like you'll use it more than I will, and like. I think it's a good way to encourage people. It's just a nice thing to do. I'm not just saying like go give away all your cards, but in that specific instance, it's pretty nice.
My favorite instance of me doing this was we had met a father who played Magic. His kid, he was teaching his kids how to play Magic too, and like I knew he wasn't really like kind of a control-y sort of player, so like I slipped both of his kids a Leyline of Anticipation. I was like, beat your dad.
that is true. I did see that. Yeah. And you were giving them the card, right? Like,
this wasn't a trade of any kind. Actually, the trade was that they beat their dad. Right. So another thing is, be willing to teach, right? Sometimes I'll admit I've played a newer player and I've gotten kind of aggravated. Don't do that. Like I messed up, right? Like, be willing to kind of be understanding when you play. And, there are some teaching moments, and you could say things like, because like, say I'm playing a pre-release against a new player, right? I literally do not care if I win or lose. It doesn't matter to me. So if, you can help them and say, say like they have 3 creatures and they attack with 1, but they should really attack with all of them because you're like wide open. You'd be like, hey, maybe you should attack with those.
And conversely, like, like maybe they're attacking a 2/2 into a 2/3 and be like, are you sure you want to do that?
Exactly.
Because if I block this way, and that's like in-game teaching, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I, especially at a pre-release, right? Like there's nothing on the line here.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to be cutthroat, right?
No,
You can
for sure.
you can foster like, a good experience for other people.
Yeah. Because that's to me, that's what pre-releases are all about. Good experiences, having fun, hanging out, meeting new people, doing stuff like that.
Indeed. Okay. And so I think the other thing is like, if you have a friend that's interested, be willing to teach them and
for sure.
And be patient because Magic's a really hard game.
It is.
Right? We read those comprehensive rules every week in the Commander's Rules section. And it's like, sometimes when I'm reading them, I'm like, am I even speaking words anymore?
Right.
Like there's a lot going on there. But you can definitely start a lot more simple than that. And it's sometimes it's really hard to teach a new player because you think like, oh, this is for granted. Like you don't even like think about it.
It's like, because this happened to me the other day. I was showing a player or a person my deck. It was my Yawgmoth deck, and they didn't know anything about Magic, but were sort of interested in it.
Right.
And they were like, "Oh, well." So she saw 2 swamps. And they had different art. Do these two different things? Right. And that's like, to me, I'm just like, I thought about it for a second. I was like, no, that's the same card. But she's like, they look different though. I was like, well, so sometimes there are cards that have different art. They're literally the same thing. I was like, notice the wording's exactly the same, and that's how these work. And I don't explain that. And to me, like, I've been playing Magic so long that I never would have thought. Never.
Not having matching art basic lands, you savage.
It was a foil one, man. It was a special foil, and I was like, well.
I can't talk. A lot of my decks have that. Actually, I ran into a game we played at the shop the other day. I had flipped open extra player lens.
Yeah, and you had 2 mountains and 1 snow covered mountain. I was like, exile that snow covered mountain, bro. You'll get some more, maybe.
Yeah, so definitely try to do that if you can. But yeah, I think that's a good point. So what's the next one here?
It's coming prepared, and I think there's 2 levels of this. First is the more obvious one. Have dice, have your life counter. Have tokens or something that can stand. Like if you're playing a token deck, right? Like have the tokens you need, or at least something a way to represent those things like that. Have your playmat, whatever. I mean, maybe you don't play with it. That's fine. I can't imagine that, but some people are okay with it. That's definitely one way to come prepared. The other way is more of like a mental way, and that's like, knowing what your deck does. We talk about this too. When you tutor, know what you're tutoring for. Generally speaking,
if you can,
if you can. I mean, sometimes you're like, oh man, I'm in this real situation.
This one's easier to do for more experienced players than it is for newer players.
Yeah,
but that's kind of I guess a lesson out there for some of the newer folks that may be listening. Which is maybe take the time to know your deck. I know myself, like when I was a wee lad, I used to like take my decks and just like flip through them. Like
I still do that,
and just like, oh, okay, and reread the cards and just kind of like immerse myself in that deck and like imagine what it would be like playing it. I'd Goldfish, which is like, play it solo against no opponent and just like see what the hands look like. And now you can do that online.
Yeah. So that's one of the cool things about Architect. Like you can do that on Architect, but like, yeah, it's like, know what your cards do. And like, this is something that like, even I failed at the other day. I was like, oh yeah. Doubling Season totally works on poison counters. I was surprised it doesn't. And
right.
I was like, oh man. I was like, I should have known what my cards did.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely a way to like show respect to your opponents as well.
Yeah.
So, another thing that you can do to show respect to your opponents is play faster. Now, this is difficult, especially if you're a newer player, right? But essentially what we're really trying to say here is play courteously, right? Yep. So like if you've got a fetch land, like an Evolving Wilds, and you're going to crack it, you're not going to be able to use that land this turn.
Audio listeners, I would like to note that right here, I wanted to rip a fetch land in half to show it being cracked, and Ryan wouldn't give me one to do it, and I think that's wrong.
Hey man, use your own.
No.
But anyway, the point there being is that if you do it like when it's somebody else's turn, you're actually like speeding up the game overall, right? You're not like making people wait on you to do things.
And to be fair, I want to mention that when we say on other people's turn, right? Like, so Ryan and I are sitting by each other, right? I go, and then I not waiting until the end of Ryan's turn to do it, because that's basically my turn, right? Do it when like the person across from you or caddy corner to you is taking their turn, not the person right before you into their turn.
Well, and another bit here is like you can like pass your turn and say, okay, I'm going to crack this fetch land and go get a mountain, right?
Right.
And then, but say like, I reserve the right to change it if like something that happens on other people's turns happens. And like, so now everybody's being courteous because you're doing something courteous to speed up the game for everybody else. And if something changes, like, they play, something that destroys all mountains, be like, okay, well, obviously I could have waited to do this. So I'm going to get something that's not mountains, right? That's kind of a contrived example. But the point there being is that everybody's like respecting everybody else and they're trying to get the maximum amount of fun in. And so that's kind of the whole point of playing faster, which is, not like rushing yourself, but just trying to like take into account that you don't want to waste your opponent's time, right?
Right.
Like try to like go, okay, I'm going to mystical tutor, on the person 2 people to my right's turn so that I have time to find it while the person on my right's going. And again, say like, hey, I can change this if I need to. Is that okay? Like make sure everybody knows what's going on.
That's why like with fetches, honestly, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go fetch. And I know the lands in my deck. I'm like, I'm going to go fetch the shock land and have it come in for untapped. And I'll just go ahead and pay 3 life here. And then this is that land and I'll go get it after is a thing. So what's another way to play faster, Ryan?
All right. Well, this one, goes out to a particular card. So make sure you're using Sensei's Divining Top responsibly. Basically try to do this again, the same time you would crack those fetch lands, which is when somebody else is doing stuff and, try not to spend like a whole bunch of time on it. And something I'm really bad about, try to remember what those cards are.
Well, so my thing is like, I think this happens the same as with the corner case on the fetches. Like, it's like, I'm going to go ahead and top now, but so, I do it here, right? Or whenever. It's like, I reserve the right to like continue to look at them and switch them around if I need to, because theoretically, like if I were going to wait and do it, I do it at the end of this person's turn when I have the most information, but I'm trying to be faster with it. And I think when you explain that to people, they're down with it. Like they get it. I'm never going to say no to that.
Right. Yeah. And it's because, well, but we all want to make the game better. Yep. We all want to play faster so we can play more games. And that's kind of the point of that one. So the next point here, the next way to make Magic better is to invest in the game. And I don't mean buy a bunch of cards, right? What I mean is pay attention to the game that you're playing, right? Be present.
Yep.
Everybody else there is spending their time playing this game with you.
Yep.
Make sure that you're, being attentive and spending your time playing the game with them, right? Don't be on your phone.
Yeah.
And don't be distracted if you can help it, right? Obviously, like, for example, something I do is like, I have my phone like on the table, but I'm not really using it, but I do see, I got a text message. Is it from my wife? Is there trouble? No? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Not going to respond to it right now.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the thing that I need to work on this year that I'm kind of bad about. Is like playing around on my phone or whatever, because I'm always like trying to multitask or something, and I need to be more present in games, and I try. Well, like,
and it's a good way to show respect to your opponents.
Yeah,
right?
I think so too, because like that's like going to lunch with your friend and just being on your phone the whole time, ignoring your friend. So another thing that you can do to make the community better is be a positive role model. Something that
this one's sometimes hard to do too.
Yeah, it really is. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I wake up and I'm just like, oh, like I just feel bad. I'm like in a bad mood, and you know what?
You could be Garfield. It could be Monday.
Yeah, exactly. And in those times, like I don't get on social media because I don't want to, tweet out something just real negative that's gonna bring other people down, right? I personally prefer to do the exact opposite of that and kind of lift people up on Twitter. I'll see, my friend, somebody has like their dog got sick or something. I'll be like, oh, well, I hope your dog feels better. I'm thinking about that. And, also like, if somebody's sick or whatever, just lift people up. And sometimes like I'll see people be like, real down on themselves. And they're just like, I'm no good and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, like, are you having fun? Do you have friends? Do your friends like you? Like, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose games. Like, it's not a thing I care about. And to do this, I think also you have to really look for opportunities to it, because I think it's really easy to be like scrolling through your feed. It's like, oh, this person's, they're saying something sad. Keep going. I think you have to be very intentional. Like with most of the things that we've said, you have to be very intentional with that.
Yeah, well, and again, it's hard. Like, if you're having a bad day, like
Yeah,
you
for
said,
sure.
it's hard to be positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that overall the world could do with like more positivity.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully the audience out there sees that from us. And I think that is a way to make Magic better, right? Like if you're putting positive, thoughts and vibes and tweets and whatever out there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how to like spread joy and positivity to other people. And that's going to make their day better. And it just kind of makes the world a better place,
I mean, yeah, that's like, so like this kind of is part of being, there was a one of a listener who, I just started talking to, we were talking and it was cool. And he was a cool person. And then like later down the line, I hear them tell the story. Oh, well, Zach's the first, content creator that ever like actually talked to me and engaged with me. And that meant so much. And I'm just like, wow, it blows me away every time I hear him tell this story because I didn't think about that. I was just talking to a cool dude, right? Like I wasn't like, oh man, I hope this really impacts this guy's life and all this and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, just, you have no idea like what you do. Like, and with the being positive, right? Like, so like maybe Ryan's having a bad day. And this is just an example. Ryan's having a bad day. Right. And so I, say something nice to him. I'm like, oh, I hope your day gets better, man. And then he's like, oh, and then he's more positive. Right. And that reverberates out to, because he's feeling a little better, a little more positive to his coworkers, to his family. It just keeps going. And I think that's really like an awesome effect of being positive on Twitter.
I will say like something that you said like really kind of resonated me, which is like you don't even know how much you're impacting the people around you.
Exactly.
Right? Like some small thing that you do, somebody can remember years later.
Yep.
Right? And like that's the thing here, right? Like if you can be that way, if you could live that way, if you could be that kind of ambassador, that's what's going to make the people around you have better days.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's what we're after.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of the whole idea of this episode, right?
Exactly.
Which is like, how can we make the community that we participate in better?
Yeah.
And
like
I
the
think
best
that's
they
this
can
way
be.
to do it. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. So up next,
Investing in the game.
investing in your local game store. So, actually, I want to give a huge shout out to the prof here from Tellurian Community College. He does this all the time in all of his videos. He's like, you don't play at Walmart, you don't play at Target, you play at your local game store, and you should support them. And that is something I'm definitely 100% behind. And I love that he says that kind of message.
Yeah.
And it's one I absolutely agree with. Right. We did the stats episode and I did like 40% of my games.
Yeah. Most of them were at Mothership.
Up at Mothership. And having that place to play and having that place to have these positive interactions with other people means a lot to me. Right. And so it's real easy for me to buy a soda while I'm there.
Yeah.
It's real easy for me to buy like a $2 or $3 single or, $5 single, whatever you can afford. Just to kind of like make sure that shop keeps being available as a place for you to play.
Yeah.
And like, for example, like one thing I do, I have an app on my phone that like lets me like make want lists out of Magic cards. And I have one specifically like cards I think I can find at my local game store. Right. So I think that, supporting your local game store is really important. And it gives this other, like this space for people to come and play. And that's really important.
I mean, it's super important, right? Because without game stores, we don't have places to play locally. And if you're not spending money in there, like think about this, right? Like there's definitely an overhead cost for that store to be there. They're paying electricity, they're paying employees, they have stock, et cetera, et cetera. And say
they got to stock the bathroom, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they got to have soap, they got to have toilet paper, they got to have hand towels or dryers to put your hands under, like
and they have to have all the stuff they have to have, whatever. And like just going in there, playing, leaving, like is there any place that you can just go and like use their electricity and stuff for free? I mean, not really. And that's why we support these game stores, because just going in and not spending any money there, like to me, I'm not saying it is this, but I almost feel like I'm like stealing a little bit, right?
Oh, I mean,
I don't think it's that bad.
No, it's not. But
like, I feel like, I don't know, like I should do something. And that's why like I try to buy sodas there. I try to buy singles when I can. I look through the discount binder every week. I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah,
absolutely. Another thing you could do to support your local game store is be a pleasure to play against.
Yeah.
Right? Make sure the people that you're playing with have a good time, right? Because if they have a good time, then they're going to come back to that game store.
Yep.
Right? And that that's kind of been the whole message of this whole episode.
Yep.
But it especially applies at your local game store, right? Understand you're in a public place. Be aware of your surroundings. Make sure the people you're playing with have fun.
Engage with
them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we can't downplay the importance of local game stores.
Okay, so another thing you could do to make Magic better is give back to the community. Okay, and this takes a myriad of forms, but there's a lot of things that you can do. You can donate your bulk to kids clubs or to like local organizations. Joseph Hoffman does this all the time, and it's fantastic.
Well, and he plays with kids too, right? So he's that's where he's willing to teach new players. Right. And I think it's awesome. He'll tell the story about, what these kids will do when he plays them. And it's just really funny. Or it's not funny, but it's awesome to hear. I mean, it's cool.
It makes you smile.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It does.
It's a great story to hear.
So another thing, a lot of stores actually have like a donations box where you can put the stuff that you don't want. And a lot of stores I know actually go and give those to organizations. Right. So I think that's one way to give back. Another thing you could do is participate in charity. Yeah. Right. We actually have been super lucky to have this community come out in droves when we've done charity stuff. And there's chances for it all the time. The folks over at Loading Ready Run have a charity that they do in a charity event, the Desert Bus, right, every year. And that's an amazing thing. I think those guys are awesome. And the stuff they do is so great. And the money they raise for helping kids and stuff, it's amazing.
And the prof just did something too. That's why he had to shave his head, right? Because the community just gave to this charity thing that he was doing.
Yeah, I think it was something crazy $11,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money,
right? And so I think that it's amazing that we get to be a part of this community that is so charitable. And, I guess I just want to say to all the folks out there, if you're doing that, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really, really matters. And the folks that have helped us when we've done charity things, thank you. It does make Magic better. And, we can't say thank you enough.
And again, it's about being an ambassador, right? Showing that, we're not just lazy gamers or whatever the stereotype is. We actually give back to the community because we do care.
All right. So what's the next way to make Magic better, Zach?
Having the talk.
Indeed. All right. So what is the talk?
The talk really is, it's about finding out the mood of the table, so to speak, right? There's a lot of ways to play Magic and they're all valid.
Absolutely.
The thing that you want to do though is find a group of players that enjoy it the same way that you do, that you mesh and you can play and have a fun game, right? We want to have decks that are in the same power level, and things like that. And one way to make sure that this happens is definitely be honest, right? Sometimes, the power level is subjective, right? It's not 100% anything. What's a 10 to me could be a 6 to you, whatever. So
yeah, it's really difficult to, even with everybody with the best intentions and they say numbers and stuff, but try to do some other things say my decks typically, or my games typically last 12 to 15 turns with this deck, or I don't usually win through infinite combos.
And my thing is or
I don't play a lot of tutors or something like that.
I always say I don't play tutors for the most part. I'll say maybe I have one or two in the deck. They're never for big combo pieces. And I'll say, I am running a combo in this deck, right? But it's not
then everybody gets Big Zach.
But it's not a crazy combo. It's going to take me 8 cards to get it together. I definitely like to say that. It's just being honest about it. And it's are you unsure if you want to play? You can look through my deck. I don't care. I'm not hiding secret tech that you've never seen in my deck. I mean, I am, but I'm not really. So, I think doing these things it ensures that everyone has the most fun possible, because I think, we always look at it as a competitive player, or a more competitive player ending up at a table of more casual players, right? But think about the competitive player in the scenario too. The competitive player probably doesn't enjoy playing with less competitive people as much as they would playing with more competitive folks.
Yeah, I mean, basically everybody kind of loses out on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Equation, right?
If I were playing a super powerful deck and everyone was playing just really not great precons or something, I would feel bad, because so that's why it's important to have this talk.
Yeah, basically, if everybody's expectations can be like understood and met, then everyone else is going to have a better time,
Yep.
and the overall enjoyment is just going to go up for everybody at the table, and that's what we're after, right?
For sure.
Okay, so the last bit here that we have to make Magic better is use your empathy hat, right? And basically, what this means is try to understand that you're playing against another person, right? Try to like understand they might be going through something, they might
Yep.
be having a bad day, they might, not have finances. Like there's tons of stuff here, right?
I mean, an example of this is like I've been playing with people at a table, and like one person's kind of gruff. They're a little gruff, and it's like that's fine, maybe whatever. And I just like I'm still nice to them, and I try to talk to them, and by the end of that game, I can tell if that person's in a better mood.
Right, and that's exactly kind of the whole point of this,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like again, this is one of those things where it's like you can take these small actions, because I don't think anything we've said that we feel like that one can do to make the game Magic. These aren't, other than maybe confronting people. For the most part, they're not hard things. They're things that you can do in your everyday life, and you can practice in your everyday life that would make your everyday life better, but also make Magic better. And like this is one of those things, just doing little things, and this person's day has been made better, right? And I think, I know for me, like sometimes I'm just like, oh man, I'm stressed out about work or whatever. And I'm like, I'm gonna play some Magic to get away from that. And you provided that for someone.
Yeah, like that is kind of the whole point, is like people use this as like an outlet to like let off steam, and like it's an enjoyment, it's a hobby, right? And so I guess like the way I want to say this is like, be the person you want to play against, right? Be the person that you're going to have fun playing with, right? And if we can all do that, I think it's just going to make it better for everyone.
I mean, I feel like I'm always fun to play with, and I think that means that everyone should play Cyclonic Rift. If you're playing Blue, you should be playing Cyclonic Rift, because that's the kind of player that people want to play against, I think.
All right, okay. So, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
To the folks out there, what did you think of this episode? Do you have some tips for us about how to make Magic better?
Yeah.
Do you have stories about how you have personally
done
hear something?
them.
We would love to hear that.
Sure.
I think that kind of sharing on social media is
great.
It's a great way to like spread positivity.
Absolutely.
And just be an ambassador, right?
Yep.
Special thanks to our super patrons. You can check us out at patreon.com/commandersocial and join at the Your Name in Lights tier if you want to be here as well. So I guess what I want to say here is that, Magic is the best game, but we can make it better. And I think that, doing some of the things that we've talked about this episode is really a good way to do that.
Yep.
And so I'm going to sign off this episode with some words of wisdom.
Yep.
Be excellent to each other.
I completely agree. That's just the way it is. So this is Dr. Zachary Taylor, Esquire III, and
Ryan Green Geek Logan
saying, keep it social.